Yeah, because she got shot and walked out.
You had in a fucking headlock and you know it. You fucking know it. You fucking know it. You're fucking bogus as fuck. We heard you. You're not even gonna get fucking shot, you asshole.
And then now you're standing over here like, oh,
yeah, the one in the green. She hit it on. You let her fucking get shot. And she was the girl that shot. This her car right here. She was standing on the doorway.
What do you mean dead, bro? What do you mean she's dead, bro? What do you mean, look, she's dead?
She wrote her son a note. She kissed him goodbye. She walked him into school, and within minutes she was gone. Romeca Meeks, Blackmon, a nursing student, a mother, a woman who on the last morning of her life took the time to write these words to her 7-year-old son. Happy Monday, son. This is a fresh start to this day and you can start off strong. Always remain yourself. You're the coolest, smartest, and funniest kid I know. I hope you have a good day. I'll see you when you get home. Love, Mommy. She never came home. Now, nearly 8 months later, with her accused killer sitting in Cook County Jail, the defense is fighting back. And what they're saying? It has heads spinning. The defense claims the prosecution got it wrong, that the victim was the aggressor, that their star witness didn't see what she says she saw, that a single swing of a fist from an unarmed woman was somehow a lethal, life-threatening event, and they're pointing to anonymous text messages from burner phones as evidence. We're going to go through all of it today. The murder, the case history, the court battles, the appellate court ruling, the defense's response, and what is being alleged on social media that could blow this entire case wide open. You're watching Red Rage Crime TV. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Red Rage Crime TV. We cover the cases that matter. Now let's get into it. Monday, September 8th, 2025. Chicago, Illinois. The first block of West Cermak Road near South State Street, the South Loop, just after 9 o'clock in the morning. 31-year-old Romeca Meeks Blackmon had just dropped her 7-year-old son off at school. She was a nursing student working toward a career in healthcare. Her mother, Tina McMiller, would later describe her as kind, loving, and sweet. But in the moments after that school drop-off, everything fell apart. A confrontation erupted. At the center of it, a woman named Quadaja Johnson, known by her nickname, Holly. The two women shared a complicated connection. They both had children with the same man, a man named Carlos Smith. According to witnesses and prosecutors, what happened next was not a sudden eruption of violence. It was coordinated. It was cold. Witnesses say Carlos Smith was on scene. They allege he physically restrained Romeca, grabbing her by the waist, putting her in what has been described as a headlock, and slamming her with a car door as she tried to get back into her vehicle. And while he held her, Holly Johnson allegedly ran to her car, reached into the passenger side, retrieved a firearm, came back around, and opened fire. One eyewitness, who was on a bus nearby and became a key witness for the state, described what she saw.
I was actually the one at the scene. So I was the one that was yelling out to arrest her, because everybody wasn't doing anything. I was actually the one who called the cops first. And I saw them when they were fighting in the beginning, and I was like, this is not right. He was slamming her with the door when she was standing in her door frame, not even close to the female on the other side. So she was literally standing on the other side of the road, and her baby daddy was literally slamming the door on her back. So she went back into her car, came back out, and then this was when the baby daddy walked towards the other baby mama. After this happened, he grabbed her by the waist. She tried to wiggle away from him. Her arm was like literally almost getting free with his arm around her neck this time, because he was holding her by the waist in the beginning and she wiggled out, After this happened, he had her in the, like, almost looking like a headlock to me on the side. And then the other baby mama stated, "I'm going to shoot you, bitch. Watch me shoot you, bitch." And he stated, she's going to go get her gun. She's going to go get her gun. Watch. And after this happened, She ran to the passenger side of her vehicle, grabbed her gun, went around, and when the woman, the mother, who slipped away from him for at least like maybe a good second, as soon as she slipped away, she shot her. And she shot her in the face, on her side, and in her thigh. And I saw him like holding her for a split second. Maybe he was in shock, but after he was in shock, I guess he picked her up. And when she was falling, like a gush of blood fell, you know, like out of her body. And I was like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, I don't know, everybody else sees movies, you know what I mean, and they see put pressure on the wound. Why weren't you putting pressure on the wound? Why weren't you caring enough? This supposedly was your first baby mama, because when I was on the bus, I heard him and her screaming, and she was literally saying, she was like, I just dropped off my fucking baby. What? I just dropped off my fucking baby. Are you guys kidding me? As soon as I got off the 21 bus, and trust me, they got it. You know what I mean? Everything that I literally I wasn't going to let her die like that. I literally looked into her eyes. That hurt me. She says she dropped her baby off, and you don't know who she is. You know what I mean? And I was like, arrest her. She needs to get arrested. You know what I mean? They weren't even thinking. There was another black female cop who came up, and a Mexican shore cop. And I pointed out, I was like, the gun's in her car. The gun's in the car. Why wouldn't you give him the gun if supposedly this was, a self-defense? You know what I mean? If it was hey, here's the gun, this is what happened. It was no self-defense. I swear to you, it did not look like no self-defense. It looked like you shot her because you were just angry or something. You know what I mean? And to me, when she shot her, it wasn't the female that got shot, she wasn't with any gun. She didn't have no weapon, no knives, no nothing. So what was it that frightened you so much? You had to run around your car, go into your passenger seat or whatever the case is, and you reached in to get your gun and shoot this woman, So to me, it was a senseless, they were arguing because she was pulling up, and I guess they ended up parking. Why was her car parked on the sidewalk? Because I seen she ran towards the sidewalk to get her gun, and it was a small black vehicle, and he had a black truck, I think. And literally, he came out of his truck looking like real, like he wasn't like on anything but being like mischievous, like nothing but like what was like he was planning something, you know what I mean? And I called the cops on the first time I called the cops, it was because he was attacking her, and the other girl was just yelling at her, and she was arguing back. So there was nothing going on for her to be like, oh, I'm going to step back over here to go get my gun.
He grabbed her by the waist. She tried to wiggle away from him. He had her in what looked like a headlock. Then the other woman stated, I'm gonna shoot you, bitch. Watch me shoot you, bitch. And he said, she's gonna go get her gun. She's gonna go get her gun. Watch. Holly Johnson fired. She landed two, one in Romeca's face, one in her thigh. Romeca Meeks Blackmon was unarmed. Witnesses report that after the shooting, Carlos Smith walked up to Holly Johnson and fist bumped her. According to the witness, he said, yeah, it was self-defense, right? And she said, yeah, it was self-defense. Romeca was rushed to Stroger Hospital. She was pronounced dead. And then something happened that would ignite a firestorm. Holly Johnson was taken into custody at the scene. She had blood on her clothes. She had a gun in her car. Witnesses had already identified her to police, begging officers to make an arrest. But Holly Johnson was released. Why? She had a valid concealed carry license. She claimed self-defense. And because her infant child was present in the vehicle, investigators gave her the benefit of the doubt while they continued gathering evidence. For nearly 3 months, Holly Johnson walked free. The community did not stay silent. Romeca's family organized vigils and launched the Pink for Romeca movement. Supporters wearing pink on the 8th of each month, Romeca's favorite color. The hashtag Justice for Romeca spread across social media. And during that time, something deeply disturbing surfaced online. On November 8, 2025, exactly 2 months after the murder, on the very day the community was wearing pink in Romeca's memory, a photo appeared from Holly's aunt's Snapchat account. It showed Holly at a pool hall party surrounded by men. Holly herself was dressed head to toe in pink. She was beaming. She was holding what appeared to be a drink, and she was celebrating. What was she celebrating? That question still haunts this case. Then came December 4, 2025. Chicago police announced that Quadaja Johnson had been arrested at her home in Des Plaines and charged with first-degree murder, 6 counts in total under Illinois statute. Those 6 counts are 1 first-degree murder, intentional killing, 2 first-degree murder knowing the act created a strong probability of death, 3 first-degree murder with a firearm, 4 first-degree murder during the commission of a forcible felony, 5 first-degree murder, premeditated, 6 first-degree murder in a school safety zone. Holly Johnson was ordered held in custody. The legal battle was just beginning. December 4, 2025, Holly Johnson's initial detention hearing. The judge orders her held without bond. A status hearing is set for December 23. December 23, defense attorney Ari Williams argues for Holly's release, citing her lack of criminal history and the fact that she is pregnant. Judge Michael Clancy is unmoved. He denies release, noting that the shooting happened in broad daylight in a school zone and that the evidence is substantial. He finds Holly poses a danger to the community. January 7, 2026, the defense tries again. They argue self-defense. They point to Holly's CCL, her pregnancy, and an unserved order of protection. Holly had filed against Romeca in 2024. Judge Clancy denies release a second time. He notes the pause between shots, suggesting deliberate intent, not a defensive reflex. He cites the alleged fist bump. He acknowledges that an unarmed woman was shot multiple times at close range. January 8, 2026. A third bond hearing. Carlos Smith speaks publicly for the first time. He denies putting Romeca in a headlock. He denies slamming her with a car door. He says, and I want you to remember these exact words. I'm just tired of the lies. I know for a fact it wasn't true. I only tried to defuse the situation.
A man, and for the very first time, we are hearing from Carlos Smith. He was the man on the scene when this tragic shooting unfolded. So a lot of information came out in court today. Witnesses saying what they saw, but you were there. What's your reaction to what you heard came out in court today?
When I heard it, I'm just looking, it was unbelievable, but I was there. And I know for a fact none of that happened, how they just explained it. But my truth will get out here, and I hope everybody understand. That's really it. I can't even say too much right now. Because it's just gonna feel like I'm going against them, they going against me, we just going back and forth, but the truth is gonna come out.
Judge Clancy denies release for a third time. That same day, defense attorney Ari Williams files a notice of appeal under Illinois Supreme Court Rule 604H, asking the Illinois Appellate Court to review whether Judge Clancy abused his discretion. The case goes to the Illinois Appellate Court, 1st District, case number 126-0116B. On March 19, 2026, the court issues an order signed by 3 judges presiding: Justice Mitchell, Justice Mikva, and Justice Oden Johnson. They instruct the defense to supplement the record with any video evidence or exhibits that were before the circuit court at the detention hearings. The deadline is set for March 25th. And on March 27, 2026, the ruling drops. The appellate court denies Holly's appeal. All 3 judges are in agreement. The panel finds that Judge Clancy did not abuse his discretion. His decision to deny pretrial release was sound. Holly Johnson poses a danger to the community. No conditions of release could ensure public safety. The door on pretrial release is shut. The defense's only remaining option would be to petition the Illinois Supreme Court, and those petitions are rarely granted in bond matters. As of right now, Holly Johnson remains in Cook County Jail, in protective custody 23 hours a day. So what is defense attorney Ari Williams actually saying in her legal filings? A portion of the defense's appellate response has been circulated online, and it is worth going through carefully because what the defense is arguing tells us a great deal about where this case is headed. The defense begins with a procedural challenge. They point out that the prosecution cited People v. Smith but used the caption for People v. Phelps, 2025, which itself cites Smith. This is a legitimate citation error. But make no mistake, it does not change the facts on the ground. Then comes the substance. The defense argues that Holly's self-defense claim does not fail from the outset. Their position is that Romeca was the initial aggressor, that she had been threatening Holly for months, had contacted Holly's grandmother to communicate intent to harm her, and that on the morning of September 8th, Romeca was the one who initiated physical violence. The filing states, and I'm paraphrasing here, that there is sufficient evidence demonstrating that Miss Johnson was physically attacked by the deceased, that she was in danger of her life, and that she was not by any means the initial aggressor. They further argue that the deceased had threatened Miss Johnson prior to this event, and had alerted Miss Johnson's grandmother of her intent to kill. Now here is where it gets critical. The defense is attempting to reframe the entire narrative around the 911 call. They argue that an unidentified caller reported two black women fighting, and that the caller described one woman identified by her green clothing, which was Holly, as having a gun, and described Romeca as the apparent aggressor. But here's the problem. Legal analysts and those who've reviewed the actual recorded call say the caller did not describe women hitting each other. The caller said there was arguing. A fight can be an argument. And the person they described with the gun, that was Holly. Then we get to perhaps the most controversial element of the entire defense filing. The document states verbatim that counsel for defendant received information from another unidentified witness through a text now number who was on the scene of September the 8th. This person clarified that after a fight ensued, witness 1 tries to move his car. When witness 1 moves his car, that's when the deceased attacked Miss Johnson and the shooting happened. Let's pause on that for a moment. A text now number. For those who don't know, Text Now is a service used to generate burner phone numbers. Numbers that cannot be easily traced back to a person. An unidentified individual using a burner phone contacted Holly Johnson's defense attorney after Holly had already been arrested and charged with a story that just so happens to align perfectly with the defense's self-defense narrative. No name, no identity, no way to cross-examine. Just an anonymous text sent to a defense attorney from a disposable number. The defense then states that Carlos Smith's statement to police given hours after the shooting, after he had allegedly gone home, changed his clothes and cleaned up, supports the claim that Romeca ran up on Holly and swung at her. Not that they were both fighting. That Romeca ran up and swung first. And based on that one swing, the defense argues that Holly Johnson, who ran to her vehicle, retrieved a loaded 9mm handgun, walked back and fired at point-blank range into an unarmed woman, was acting in reasonable self-defense. The filing even addresses the multiple shots directly. It reads, "The mere fact that multiple shots were fired does not negate the claim of self-defense." This is legally true in a narrow technical sense, but consider what the prosecution will present to a jury. A medical examiner who could not even determine which shot was the kill shot because both were so catastrophically lethal. An unarmed victim, a pause between shots, and a woman who, by her own defense attorney's words, fired those shots at point-blank range. Point blank. That term comes directly from the defense filing. And in case anyone wonders what it means, point blank refers to firing a weapon at extremely close range, where no aim adjustment is needed because you are that close to your target. You fire and you cannot miss. That is what the prosecution is walking into trial with. Now let's talk about what's been happening outside the courtroom, because if the legal filings are stunning, what's allegedly been happening on social media is something else entirely. Carlos Smith, the man who says he was just trying to defuse the situation, The man described by witnesses as holding Romeca in a headlock while Holly retrieved her weapon. The man who fist-bumped Holly after the shooting, according to multiple witnesses. That man has been on what can only be described as a social media tour. He gave interviews to Fox 32. He went online to declare that his truth would come out. He said, and this is verbatim from footage circulating online, "I was there, and I know for a fact none of that happened how they explained it, but my truth will get out here." His truth, not Holly's, his. And it gets more alarming. According to sources and clips circulating in the true crime community, Carlos Smith allegedly appeared on TikTok Live answering questions from viewers for $10 a pop via Cash App. Let that sink in. The primary witness in a first-degree murder case. The man described at the center of the entire incident, allegedly charging people money to hear his version of events on TikTok during an open criminal investigation. His supporters have argued the money wasn't for him directly, that he told viewers to send donations to the host. But regardless of where the money went, the behavior itself raises serious questions. A witness in an active murder trial does not go on social media to answer public questions about the case. Full stop. Any competent attorney would tell you that. And then there's the matter of Holly Johnson herself. It has been reported and widely discussed in the true crime community that Holly Johnson allegedly called into a TikTok Live from inside Cook County Jail on her birthday. And if that weren't enough, she allegedly requested songs. The song being discussed, On the Run by Jay-Z and Beyoncé. Now we cannot independently verify every detail of this. These are allegations being discussed publicly in the community. But let's think through what it would mean if true. Holly Johnson is facing 6 counts of first-degree murder. She is in protective custody 23 hours a day. Her attorney has been fighting to get her released on pretrial bond, and she is allegedly calling into social media live streams from jail, requesting songs, laughing, appearing unbothered. If there is video or audio evidence of this, it is devastating for the defense. Not because listening to music is a crime, but because it goes directly to the question of remorse, and remorse matters enormously in how a jury perceives a defendant. The prosecution has already argued that Holly showed no remorse at the scene. A jailhouse birthday celebration on social media while awaiting trial for murder does not help Ari Williams make the case that her client is a changed, remorseful woman who acted in fear. And then there's this. In April 2026, it was confirmed that Carlos Smith had an outstanding arrest warrant from Indiana. That warrant led to him being taken into custody during court proceedings completely separate from the murder case. As the old saying goes, when you do dirt, the dirt finds you. Let's zoom out and look at what the prosecution is building. First, there is the eyewitness testimony. A woman who was present, who called 911 multiple times, whose account has remained consistent. She described Carlos restraining Romeca. She described Holly's verbal warning before she retrieved the gun. She described the shooting. She described the fist bump. Second, there is the phone record, a 3:40 a.m. call between Holly and Carlos on the morning of September 8th. That is not a normal hour for a phone call between two people who just happen to share the same child's father. Prosecutors are looking at whether this call was part of an arrangement, a plan. Third, there is the social media evidence. The family dinner video where handguns were laid out on a table like centerpieces surrounded by cash with teenagers present. A Facebook post from a Johnson family member reading, and I'm paraphrasing, that the Johnson family doesn't fight. They shoot people in the face. A best friends video that described Holly as completely unafraid and not playing around when it came to Carlos.
They seen the video, everything. They was leaving his house. She was seen in the school here. She did. They'll be like, yeah, she was crazy, man. We gonna miss her. She was crazy. They're not gonna say, oh, she was just a sweet, innocent little angel, knowing that I was doing drive-bys and putting bitches in the hair like every month. And be the fucking for real. Be the fuck for real. Oh, she was just a sweet angel. She wouldn't kill a bug. Meanwhile, she got every bitch in the head like over this nigga. What? You say happy birthday with 3 emojis to Carlos, you're getting beat the fuck down. That bitch ain't Carlos. What?
Fourth, the prosecution is waiting on DNA results, ballistics, gunshot residue testing, and the medical records from Stroger Hospital, which were approved under court order in March 2026. Those records could confirm whether Romeca had injuries consistent with being held in a headlock and slammed with a car door, corroborating witness accounts and directly contradicting Carlos Smith's denials. And fifth, the contract killing theory. The prosecution is investigating whether this murder was premeditated and coordinated between Holly and Carlos. Under Illinois law, if the state can prove that the killing was committed for consideration, meaning there was a pre-arranged agreement to kill, the sentence can be mandatory, life without parole. The next court date is scheduled for May 6, 2026. A discovery hearing trial has not yet been set, but this case is building. Here are my thoughts. The defense in a difficult position. They are arguing self-defense in a case where the victim was unarmed, where their own attorney used the phrase point blank in a legal filing, where the pause between shots suggests deliberation rather than panic, and where the primary supporting witness is the man whose presence at the scene the entire case revolves around. The anonymous burner phone text is not going to help them. In fact, it may hurt them. Prosecutors, judges, and juries are not naive. When an unidentified person contacts a defense attorney from a disposable phone number with a story that perfectly supports the defense narrative, people notice. Burner phones can be traced. Purchase records exist. Cell towers log data. If that text ever gets traced back to someone in Carlos Smith's circle, it could be catastrophic for the defense. As for Carlos Smith, his social media presence is a liability, not an asset. Every video, every live stream, every public statement is potential cross-examination material. And his own words, "My truth will get out here," tell us everything. He's not focused on Holly's case. He's focused on himself. And Holly? If the reports about the Jailhouse birthday livestream are accurate, she needs a serious conversation with her attorney. Because right now, the defense's best argument is that Holly was afraid. That she was a scared pregnant woman trying to survive. Every social media post, every party, every song request from a jail cell erodes that argument entirely. A 7-year-old boy lost his mother on what was supposed to be a normal Monday. He walked into school that morning with a note in his lunchbox. The note said she would see him when he got home. She never came home. And every twist in this case, every filing, every TikTok live stream, it all circles back to that. To that note, to that little boy, and to the question of whether the courts will hold accountable every person responsible for what happened on that sidewalk. That's where we are today. Here's my question for you. Do you believe the anonymous burner phone text will be taken seriously by the court, or will the judge and jury see it for what it appears to be? And what do you think the Jailhouse social media activity says about the defense's case? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. If this breakdown helped you understand the case, hit the like button, subscribe to Red Rage Crime TV on YouTube, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Red Rage Crime TV. Share this video, keep Romeca's name alive. For Romeca, for her son, for the truth. We'll see you in the next update.